Meanwhile, there is what I think is about to become the biggest story in sports, and that is the continued uncertainty surrounding the upcoming college football season. There are so many possibilities and ideas that have come up. We've talked about playing the season without fans. We've talked about moving the season to the spring. Now you're starting to hear some schools talk about their plans. Did you see what Oregon tweeted yesterday? This is from the University of Oregon. They tweeted they intend to be open for in-person on-campus instruction for fall term. The president announced the plans will be coordinated with health authorities to safeguard the community and prevent the spread of coronavirus outbreaks. A lot of other schools have tweeted different ideas. Here's Laura Rutledge joining the party this morning because she has been keeping a close eye on all of this. So, Laura, as you've been talking to people around the sport, what are you hearing right now?
Well, Greeny, the timeline still remains the same, and the main focus is to try and have football that would start on time in college. It's just very complicated, as you alluded to. Most of these conferences are shut down currently, and they'll reassess at the end of this month, early June as well. And they're going to look around the country and say, where are we? Is it feasible to get these athletic players back on campus by July to have the 6 weeks that you might need to really be ready for the season to start on time? And I think that's crucial in all of this. Most universities are shut down over the summer. I've talked to many coaches. Some say, hey, we could do a model like the pros. We could just get guys back on campus and just go. Some say absolutely not. They say we would need the time in place to prepare everybody. And then one thing, too, that I continue to hear in all of this, it would be devastating for college football to try to play a season without fans. They need the fan revenue more than the NFL does, more than any other sport does. So they absolutely are going to try, no matter what the timeline looks like, to make sure that fans are in the stands, mainly for a financial situation. Also, they say, look, if it's not safe for fans, it should not be safe for players as well.
And Laura, and look, we live in a country now where things are opening at different pace, right? Some places are opening and other places are not because some are ready and some are not. College football, we understand there's no sort of central governing body. Could we be looking at a situation where some schools are ready to play and others aren't, and so some do and not everybody does?
So I asked that question to a Power 5 head coach yesterday. What would this be like if, some states are opening and all of that? Just as you mentioned, he said, look, in our conference, we would be at the mercy of our slowest states. And a lot of that, I think, has to do with the fact that they are trying to keep things relatively unified here for the large can of worms, for lack of a better way to put it, that would be opened if some of these places start to open before others. And that's crucial in all of this, because Greeny, you'll remember when we first started talking about this, we were saying, could you see some conferences just play each other? Could you see some of these universities just open and allow their athletes to come back on campus? I think the NCAA and the conferences as a whole are really trying to avoid that. I'm not ruling it out, though, because it's still being floated around as a possibility. But I think they're trying to avoid something that would not be unified as a large body.
Nick, what are your big picture thoughts here?
I mean, money is the motivator. That's why we're rushing to do all of this stuff, because the money matters. And when we talk about professional sports, which I think those big-time college programs fall into the realm of professional sports, but when we talk about the sports that we consider professional, the reason why we all think it's okay or we consider it possible that the players will show up is because the players don't want to lose that money either. But college is not like that. I can't imagine that exposing yourself to the level of risk that you might be exposing yourself to is worth a semester of free education. And I mean, I think it's an interesting moment for the college players where they will have some leverage if they can organize in any sophisticated way. They have some leverage at this moment when the schools really need them. Because as Laura pointed out, if the NFL teams don't show up the year after in 2021, these teams will still exist. There are some colleges who their sports programs and their universities are dependent on football and basketball showing up. So I hope that the NCAA takes into consideration how important the players are and how valuable they are and how much risk they're exposing themselves to in order to make the money to keep this engine rolling.
RC, you played and you have a son who plays college football right now. What's your take on all this?
My take is that it's going to be different for many people. I talk to my son about it on a consistent basis, and he's like, Dad, if they say we can play, I'm going to play. But there are going to be some people who have concerns, especially in the situation if we're saying that it's not safe for you to be in school. It's not safe for you to be in the stands cheering. And so I think all of those things will come into play. This is going to be an opportunity for these players to get together. And if they do want some things from the NCAA, it's time that they make their demands man. So I agree with Domonique. Some kind of way they're going to have to come together and make this as safe and as advantageous to the players as they possibly can, because all of these universities, or at least most of these universities, especially the high caliber Power Fives, they need football to take place in order for not only their sports programs to run, but their schools as a whole.
Yep, they need answers to questions that have never been asked before in college sports. Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.